Welcome to episode 6 of Down the Cheezehole. It's official. We had decided way back when that if we could get through 5 episodes of Down the Cheezehole, we were going to upgrade all of our audio equipment.
And we did.
And we did. We actually upgraded it last week, but we failed to record it properly.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
Well, I said we, because this is a team effort.
Okay.
There is no I in team,
All right.
but there is an E and an A, which are also vowels. But anyway, welcome to episode 6 of Down the Cheezehole. First of all, I'm going to recap. We didn't get a lot of feedback on last week's episode, but I did get a little bit. I heard that people like having all 4 of us together, so we're going to keep the team together. We're going to start 2 quarterbacks, which seems a little bit weird.
Excellent.
They're both just mediocre, so together they equal one good one.
Yeah, kind of like the Bears.
The Bears still suck. Anyway, in the news, last week we talked briefly about Hudson, Wisconsin, and how it had a bunch of Minnesotans crawling over the border to go to the bars.
Yeah.
It's still the case, I guess.
Still the case, only now it's getting ugly.
Fatal stabbing. Ugly.
Fatal stabbing, and isn't actually the city of Hudson trying to change their rules now just to stop this? Man,
Well, they're trying to put in the same curfew. Right now, the curfew in Minnesota is that all of the bars and restaurants, like anything that serves food or is done at 10. That's a curfew. That's done at 10. So basically, everybody in Minnesota has been getting their pregame on, and then once 10 o'clock hits, they've been crossing the border and getting stupid in Wisconsin.
I didn't realize this was a post 10 p.m. thing.
Yes. So now Hudson is trying to do the same. They're trying to say, all right, we're going to shut down at 10 o'clock too to avoid all this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So does Evers need to build a wall?
And get those Minnesotans to pay for it.
Is the Minnesota governor a Republican or a Democrat?
Democrat.
I would highly think it's a Democrat, yeah.
For sure.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I get the reason I thought I was just wondering who would build the wall, if it would be Evers or whoever the governor of Minnesota is. And ever since it hasn't been, what's his name? The all-star wrestler. I can't remember.
Jesse Ventura.
Jesse
I mean,
Ventura.
it would be a pretty simple wall, wouldn't it? Like a simple blockade on the bridge? Because we kind of have a river.
There's already a barrier.
There's already a natural barrier.
All you actually need is just a simple like a
Spike strip.
railroad thing that comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Democrat.
Okay. Well, anyway, so the Hudson thing has now turned into just even more news where we're trying to keep the Minnesotans out of Wisconsin. I always thought we were a friendly border, but not as far as COVID is
Not when
concerned.
they're coming over to stab us.
Yeah, they're coming here to kill us. We got to keep them out.
Actually, I think the stabbing was between 2 Minnesota people.
So a Minnesota dude got mad at another Minnesota dude, but it happened in Hudson.
The 2 people, both from the Twin Cities, were arrested Monday, yeah. A 26-year-old from New Brighton, and then I don't know who the other guy was, but yeah, so...
The 26-year-old was killed.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, when you get into a fight with your buddy and you're like, hey, let's take this outside. They started in Minnesota, and then, hey, let's take this over to Wisconsin, finish this up.
Finish this. It's after 10. We got to go
That's
home,
right.
and I'm not done with you.
Yeah, that's right.
The Hudson mayor is trying to keep peace, though. I mean, they want everyone to know we welcome everyone with open arms, but there's a group of people that are of the criminal nature that are using this opportunity to come to Hudson and exploit it.
Well, if I was the mayor of Hudson, I would let it be known that criminals aren't welcome here either. So you got to do what you got to do. Moving on from Hudson, there was a Green Bay area priest, and I thought this was kind of just odd, where I want to make sure I understand the story correctly. People in his congregation got mad because he hunts?
I don't know if it was people in
don't
his
think it was in his
congregation.
congregation,
So the background with this priest is that he grew up in Wisconsin. He grew up with the tradition of deer hunting, and he's still an avid deer hunter. And he was hunting legally, we need to add, on the St. Norbert Abbey grounds in De Pere. And he's been hunting there for a lot of years. But then this year, he just, I think, had random people that started to harass him.
Because he was hunting, or because he was
hunting
at St. Norbert's? Or?
I think just because he was hunting, maybe. Anti-hunters.
Well, were they following, like, thou shalt not kill, and they felt that applied to venison?
It could be. I mean, I guess I don't have an interview with the anti-hunters here. So.
Is thou shalt not hunt one of the commandments? Not that I'm aware of.
It's not.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't fall under the commandments.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I actually felt bad for him, and by priest standards, I saw a picture of this guy. He's got to be the youngest priest.
He's a good-looking
Hands
guy.
down.
Not that there's anything
Hey,
wrong with
no,
that. But he's by far the youngest priest I've ever seen in a photograph.
Yes.
He looks like he's about 35.
Hey, he's had success. He's got 4 deer ready this year, so they didn't affect him too much.
Yeah, and
he doesn't care.
Did you read? Does he donate all of the deer meat? Of
course he does.
I feel like none of that he keeps for himself. He donates it all to the parish food pantry or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, Paul's Pantry of Families. Nice.
this is my shout out to leave him alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, harassing hunters is illegal. And he did the right thing. He called it in, and
What's the penalty for harassing a hunter?
I'm not sure. Probably just a nice slap on the wrist. Good fine.
No. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's more than a slap on
Well,
the
yeah,
wrist. I
probably
would
fine you
imagine.
quite a bit. Well, like this, they said there was damage to a tree stand, theft of trail cameras, so I'm sure they got a pretty hefty fine.
Well, moving on from the priest who gets in trouble for hunting. We're sticking with people who are getting in trouble.
Okay.
How about there's a couple of teenagers who stole a wastewater truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fantastic story. So this was in Portage County. This is down like south of Stevens Point, I think.
It says
Yeah.
Plover.
Yeah.
Plover, yeah. Whiting. And so it's a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old that broke into the Whiting wastewater treatment facility, stole a wastewater truck, and crashed it.
And I mean, like, if you guys are looking at the picture that I am, they didn't just crash this thing. It's totaled.
Yeah. It left the road, struck a tree, and rolled multiple times.
When they say wastewater truck, was it like a vacuum truck or was it like a big industrial
I
type?
honestly can't tell looking at the picture. This thing's totaled.
Yeah, it's not. Well, and we need to start, too, that before they even wrecked it by crashing it, it was damaged soon after they took it because they just plowed it right through a gate.
Oh,
yeah.
jeez.
Yeah, that's how they got it out.
Huh. I used to live over there.
Well, depending on what the truck was, I mean, that could have been $250,000.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well, the charges are an OWI causing injury, a burglary, criminal damage to property, operating a motor vehicle without the owner's consent, and also one of the kids was 15.
And
Yeah,
he was
did you say
the one
50?
driving.
The 15-year-old was
Yeah,
driving?
the 15-year-old was
15
driving.
and 17, and he was the OWI.
Oh, my gosh.
So what? They must have just found this thing and knew the keys were in it or something strange.
I don't know.
Huh. And you said this was in Plover.
Whiting.
South of Plover. Yeah, Whiting.
Whiting
Pretty
wastewater
much
treatment
Plover,
truck.
Whiting is north of Plover.
Yeah, it's in
Oh,
between
north of
Plover and
Plover.
Point.
It's between, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We always got to get our geography right.
Yeah.
Well, that one I
Well,
know. That's my
yeah.
stomping grounds in college. I fished at the Whiting Dam and stuff.
You
What did you catch at the Whiting Dam?
Smallmouth, catfish,
Because
walleye.
you're a bass guy.
Yeah.
Are you a UWSP guy?
I am.
Oh, cool. Me too.
Aw,
Just
we
learned.
had a moment
Yeah, we had a moment.
on air. We captured that for eternity. What's the differentiation between you two, between your UWSP graduation years?
2008.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't even graduated from high school then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why we have Eric.
That was
here.
2014.
He's our senior member.
Senior.
Well,
So these guys have a bright future ahead of them. Sounds like.
yes, they sure do. And Whiting is trying to figure out how they're going to replace whatever truck it is that those
Oh,
two
man.
totaled.
Yeah.
Not sure what municipality. That has to be some type of industrial truck, because typically a municipality wouldn't own a truck like that. But anyway, we don't know, so we won't go any further. You know, we were talking about hunting, and it reminded me of another story that came up down in Janesville. And I can't wrap my head around exactly how this went down, but there was a kid charged for shooting his buddy with a bow, with a compound bow, and then shot another buddy.
I don't know if they were his buddies or not. The story is very, very short. It just reports that a 17-year-old shot 2 people with a compound bow.
During a disturbance. Didn't it say that?
Oh, yeah, shot during
like,
a disturbance.
Yeah, they were together. It's not. I don't think it meant that they were breaking in. Like the disturbance was they were breaking in, and that was his form of getting them out.
How could they not run away in time?
That's what that was exactly my
You
thought.
cannot quick draw a compound bow.
You have to
Well,
take an arrow out, knock
mean-
it.
I mean, have you ever seen Lord of the Rings? I mean,
Well,
Legolas?
that's not a
I mean,
compound, and that's also fantasy.
I know.
What, in Lord of the Rings, do they have like little magic arrows that just keep reloading?
There's the elves can just, shoot them fast.
So Eric is comparing elves in Lord of the Rings.
That's just how I imagine it in my head. Is this kid is doing it like Lord of the Rings style?
No, they just have quivers that never, for some reason, ever empty in those
infinite
movies.
quivers.
Yeah.
This kid had an infinite quiver and it knocked itself. But you have to aim. You have to knock, draw, aim, let it go, and do that again. I don't think I could knock and shoot 2 arrows in less than 20 or 30 seconds.
No.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And there's no word onto their condition, which I mean I can't imagine it being good.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I think I would rather get shot by a gun than an arrow.
I think so too, depending on the tip. Broadhead versus practice.
Well,
Just
I 100% agree. I guess I was only picturing this with a broadhead.
yeah.
You think practice tip.
No, I'm not sure. But
How do
depending
you-
on whether I would choose to get shot by a firearm or a bow would depend on the tip on the.
I
on
don't
the arrow.
disagree with that.
Okay.
Broadhead, definitely not. And
Yes.
one of those big, massive, like, sever, expandables. I mean, no way.
No.
I'd much rather get shot.
I agree.
Sorry.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have much to comment on that.
Would you rather get shot by an arrow or a gun?
Well, maybe I'm wrong about this. Wouldn't an arrow do more internal organ damage?
I feel like it would. I think it'd hurt a lot more too.
I
mean,
don't know.
picture a knife going through your entire body versus just like a quick
Yeah.
little bullet. I don't know. I mean,
Well, it would depend. Okay, we were talking about whether you get shot with a practice tip or a broadhead. It would also depend on the bullet, because if it's a self-defense
true. Oh, yeah.
style bullet, they actually, I don't want to say explode on
Expand.
impact. They mushroom, expand. Some of them are even set to kind of almost break apart.
yeah.
So picturing the carnage,
Yeesh.
I feel like this is something we should almost test. I have some ballistic gel
Do
at
you
my
really?
house. I do,
have
yeah.
a lot of firearms.
Yeah, and, and I have a bow.
Are we seeking a volunteer? In this?
Eric?
It's the same argument with field point versus broadhead, whether it's a full metal jacket practice round or a self-defense expandable.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables in this situation.
There is, but I'm still going to go back to no matter the bullet, if it's a broadhead of any variety, I feel the pain and amount of bloodshed would be more.
I also feel like a bullet of any sort like that expands is going to be quicker and over with, where a broadhead you're going to feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt.
Yeah, you're going to go lay down under a tree. Just wait for the pain to stop. All right. Anyway, kid shot two other people with a compound
Yeah.
bow, and we're just wondering how he had time to reload. It's a question everybody wants to know. Since we're speaking about the outdoors, Andy found this story in a local newspaper that I found absolutely fascinating, and we're going to go down what Andy was able to do. This was originally, we wanted to do this as an interview, and he declined. In 1970, Joanne and Dave Kohler, who were from the Eagle River area, put a canoe in the water in Eagle River, Wisconsin, in the Wisconsin River, and they canoed from Eagle River, Wisconsin to Mexico.
Yes.
And it took 2.5 months, and this was 50 years ago,
Yep.
to 50 years ago to the month, basically. And Andy tracked Dave Kohler down, and we tried to bring him into the podcast for an interview, and he declined, but Dave had some interesting stories to share.
Yeah, he didn't want to do an interview. He wasn't not big on public speaking, and so he would rather not. But so I asked him some questions about this, and he, a lot of his response as well was 50 years ago. Times were different. You could do something like this. You could say, you know what, we're going taking a canoe down to Mexico. Okay.
Right, you could
do we
hitchhike.
do we need to pack
Can't do
food?
that
He
anymore.
talked about hitchhiking.
Yeah,
Really?
Well, do we need to pack food? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Well, what do we do when we get down there? Well, you know what? That's part of the adventure. That's kind of how he is.
His answer was, we'll figure it out to most of those things?
Yeah, well, so he said that they started in Eagle River and went down to Wisconsin to Prairie du Chien. He said they had 18 portages in Wisconsin alone.
I'd get
Then
old.
got to Prairie du Chien and went down to Mississippi, all the way to Louisiana, where they went through the bayou to head west into Texas, and then went all the way to the border of Texas and Mexico. He said they couldn't go into Mexico because of the drug problems and relations at that time. So at that time, they connected with somebody in Mexico who brought a truck across the border, bought their 2 canoes, or 1 canoe, maybe there's just one, bought their canoe, sold it for a tandem bicycle. So he and his wife got on a tandem bicycle and biked from Texas to Florida. And then I said, well, how'd you get back from Florida all the way up to Wisconsin? He said, I don't remember.
He might have
Really?
put something else
Yeah.
up in Mexico.
Yeah.
But to me, that story is fascinating, and
Love it.
it's disappointing that a guy like this, he
This
should have
isn't
wrote a book
yeah,
or a
yep.
memoir, or I wish somebody would have just taken the time to talk to him more when it was fresh and current, because I couldn't wrap my head around doing that even in today.
Yeah. Yep.
Where you've got meals ready to eat and dehydrated food and
Yep. He said he did very little planning. He said if you had to do a trip like that today, you'd have to plan heavy, where you're going to get out and what kind of, and he just went. And it was, he said the whole thing, by the time he got back, it took, 2.5 months to get down there. He said the whole thing was a 4-month ordeal. He took 4 months out of his life to
And this is
canoe
pre,
down
this is pre GPS.
Yeah.
You got to imagine. This is Lewis and Clark style.
Yeah.
He
Yep,
had a map, and he's trying to figure out where the heck to go.
I asked him if he tented it, and his response was no. We roughed it. So I don't know exactly what that means, but
I would interpret that as they probably had a couple of sleeping bags. They threw them up on shore, and they probably had a simple, like, a lot of times what people will do is they'll just string a rope between two trees and hang a blanket or a piece of canvas over that rope. Regardless, to me, the story was crazy. But what was even more interesting about Dave Kohler is he's also like an inventor.
Yeah, he should definitely write a book. So, yeah, I mean, where he lives now, he's got solar panels and like a wind turbine that he built himself. Not like I bought a kit and put it together and put it up. He built it from nothing. There's something to be able to harness wind power and turn it into electricity. He said that he invented the first digital pulse reader in the world. He's done projects for NASA. There was a place in Eagle River called Pleasure Island, which was like an amusement park, which he built a lot of attractions for.
And also you said at
Really?
Tommy Bartlett's?
Yep, he's built some stuff for Tommy Bartlett. He built just this last year something for, I don't think it's called like the Exploratorium or Exporium or something like that. He built, mechanical robot type stuff.
Gosh, this guy should definitely be on
Yeah.
here. He's way more interesting than any of us.
He's done stuff for NASA.
He's 77 or 78 years old,
Yeah.
I think he had told you. And again, these are the type of people, like, it's just crazy to me that this guy lives within 10 miles of us, and the stories he could tell are all just there, bottled up in his head, never to be heard. But anyway, Andy got to talk to him, and I found that fascinating that this guy canoed from Eagle River to Mexico 50 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that would. I mean, how many people have done that? I don't know what the record is. Maybe Eric can Google that. The record for America's longest canoe trip.
Well, I mean, there's quite a few. Not quite a few, but there's a handful of people that do make like the Mississippi trip. I know that's like a thing that canoers try to achieve. But I mean, leaving from
Do you get a
Eagle River,
badge or
not
something?
sure.
What do you get upon, like, what do you get?
I think
as
just
patch?
an enormous sense of pride.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
it's like walking the trail. What's it? The Oregon Trail? No, what is it?
The Appalachian Trail.
The Appalachian
Yeah.
Trail.
you
Yeah.
get invited to come on down the Cheezehole.
Yeah, we would
mean,
definitely
yeah.
interview anybody who can. If anybody wants to be on the Cheezehole, just put your canoe in Eagle River and let us know when you make it to Mexico, and
you're on.
We'll immediately have you on. Eric, do you it look like you?
The
look
Guinness
like,
Book of World Records has the longest canoe journey ever at 12,181 miles.
they fell
And this
just
was
a bit short.
This was in 1986 by Don Starkle.
Old Don Starkle. We'll try and get him on next week.
I mean, how many miles are we talking here from? Can you look that up?
From Eagle River to Mexico, I
Yeah.
would bet you're going to be like 1,200-ish. Again, I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty straight route if you just think about how the Mississippi flows kind of straight south.
Yeah. I mean, he said that when he started going through the bayou, he had to make some kind of apparatus to go over top of him because he was encountering gators and driving through like massive webs of spiders that he had to kind of shield himself from. And
I would be more
Yeah, I don't
afraid
like
of
that.
the spiders than
Yeah,
the
you're
gators.
1,200-ish miles.
Snakes
Just
falling
quickly
out of
Google
trees.
map that.
1,200 miles. Look at that. I was almost right on the money.
going down to
I'm a regular
Louisiana
Rain
and
Man.
I mean, he went all the way through Texas too, so that would have added a bunch. That's quite the journey.
So we already debated spiders or gators. And like, since we're talking bullets or arrows, I would take the gators over the spiders.
I don't know.
Oh, geez, I don't know.
I don't know how big a spiders we're talking. I don't.
But
care.
you
I don't
said
care
that they were covering his face and things. And
Yeah,
Ooh.
like yeah.
What
Yeah,
if
I
there's
wouldn't like that.
What if they're those brown recluse spiders?
I'm picturing like Jumanji type spiders.
Exactly.
I think I'm with you on the spider thing covering my face because, especially back then. Yeah, I mean, you can just shoot a gator.
I wonder if he brought a gun.
Yeah, I didn't
that's a
ask that.
great question.
Self-defense.
Well, you would. I don't. I mean, you
I
just
would.
never know.
Yeah.
He was very handy with guns because he did as part of his that Pleasure Island thing. He did like a OK Corral shootout type.
He was part
story.
of the. He was part of the event.
Yeah,
part of
so
the live
He
action.
said that he has very hard time hearing now because for 20 years he was in the gun show and probably
Is there
didn't.
anything this guy has not done?
Just,
No,
so,
this
you know,
guy is-
just so you
Wow.
know, Andy, they didn't use real guns in the gun show at Pleasure Island.
Well, they were probably as loud as
They shot
well,
caps.
They shot what?
Caps.
Oh yeah.
Just think about like how different things are nowadays. I mean, this guy's achieved so much. He's done so many cool things. I'm gonna sit here and tell my grandkids stories about sitting in the basement with you guys. I mean, that's the difference here.
And you know what's sad is you'll at least have a historical record
Right,
of this.
yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
somewhere.
True.
But a guy floating from Eagle River to Mexico in a canoe, there's zero historical record of. No photos, no diary, no nothing.
Well, now there is. We documented it.
in a previous, well, we've talked about Waterloo, Wisconsin a handful of times now on Down the Cheezehole. And since this is called Down the Cheezehole, Waterloo went down the 1,000-pound cheddar cheese hole. A grocery store in Waterloo picked up a 1,000-pound block of cheddar. Do people in Waterloo love their cheese that much? Or is it cheaper if you buy it in bulk?
What are they doing with that much cheese?
That's what I'm wondering. 1,000 pounds of cheese. Like typically a big block of cheese at the grocery store is the typical sizes are like 8 ounces, aren't they? Like those small brick sized ones.
Yeah.
So 2 of those is 1 pound. So picture like 1,000-pound cheese block.
Well, they cut it into small cheese blocks and sell it.
Is that what they said?
No
Yeah,
kidding.
they repackage it.
I assume.
Well, it's not like everyone just come on into the grocery store,
Just
hack
carve
off
a piece out with your
and-
hands or
Yeah.
just bite it like a mouse.
Right.
There's people just chewing on it.
I mean, it looks like it's 4 feet tall and probably 3 feet around.
Was it made in Wisconsin? I would sure hope so.
It's got
would wanna say
Wisconsin logos all over the rind and stuff.
We don't know
so
who the manufacturer was.
I bet we could find it. But no, it doesn't list it in this article.
Well, 1,000-pound wheel of cheese in Waterloo. For me, I think about how much I've grown over the course of this podcast. And 3-4 short weeks ago, I thought Waterloo was in Iowa. And
now
now
look at
I
you.
know that the grocery store sells a 1,000-pound block of cheese. Trek bicycles are made there. A friend of ours' grandfather grew up there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take a trip down there and
I feel like Waterloo is my second home. Speaking of second homes, last week we had our buddy on who threw the snowmobile up on top of his roof.
yeah.
And he talked a lot about the Lake Magnor Restaurant. Brian, can you grab Karen for us, please?
Oh, it's time.
Yeah,
Oh, you found a Karen review for
I found
the
a
Lake
Karen
Magnor
review
restaurant?
for the Lake Magnor Restaurant. And this is probably the meanest Karen review I've come across
Aw.
since we started doing this. But, nobody gives a review more justice than Karen herself. So we've obviously got to let her do that. But last week, we were supposed to have T-shirts made for our guests. And we have our own T-shirt making equipment here. And we failed miserably on that earlier this week. Otherwise, we'd get those out to people who
Yep.
participate.
We'll send them eventually.
We're not giving up.
Eventually,
No,
we're going to get to that. But anyway, we've got Karen here to read us the Lake Magnor Restaurant, 4.2 out of 5 stars, 444 reviews, except for this dandy was not happy.
If you like the taste of butt burgers, this place is for you.
Oh,
Thank you, Karen. We appreciate that. Butt burgers.
somebody's not happy with their burger.
Somebody didn't like their burger. What creeps me out is like he's obviously familiar with the taste of a butt burger because
Yeah.
he knew to compare it.
Do you think he was trying to say Butterburger, like Culver's?
And it was a typo?
Maybe.
If you like the taste of butter burgers, this place is for you.
Oh, and then all of a sudden it's
Then
fine.
it's
But
nice.
this was a 1-star.
It was a 1-star
So I'm gonna go
review.
with butt. Yeah.
Yeah, you think it was an intentional butt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a dandy. Well, Lake Magnor is obviously you can't judge it solely by this Karen review because again it has 444 positive reviews and then this one Karen review. But speaking of butt burgers,
What kind of segue? What kind of segue is this?
well, this is my idea of what a butt burger would taste
Okay.
like if I were to ever put one in my mouth.
Okay.
There's been press this week in Wisconsin because this is not a thing anywhere where I grew up. I'm going to put this out there. Is those cannibal sandwiches are not something I ever ate in my entire life, but they're a Wisconsin thing.
Okay, you gotta explain it.
A cannibal sandwich is just like raw hamburger and onions
With seasonings and
with
like,
seasonings. And I think some people like put them in like a little meatball, squish them, and eat them on a saltine.
Yeah. Saltine or just on a bun, like a burger. without
Oh,
cooking it.
really?
Yeah.
That
Put it
I've never
between bread.
seen. That I don't. But I've seen them served at places like parties I've gone to, like a small meatball on a cracker, and I have never put one of those in
And
my
it's
mouth.
just raw hamburger.
It's
Yeah.
raw hamburger with raw,
Which
onion and
obviously poses a
seasoning.
lot of risks.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, that's the story in the.
But this is a big enough tradition that it's a.
It's a Wisconsin thing.
I'm not familiar with this.
Well, aren't you pretty much from Minnesota?
We did decide that, didn't we?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. Eric, is this a plover tradition?
I don't know anybody that's ever eaten these before.
So there's nobody doing this, but it still gets.
I mean, I hear about it, right?
Well, and this thing is
But
as many
it's
Wisconsin
like, it's like
families
legend.
consider it to be a holiday
It's
tradition.
legend.
Do you think it's
not
one of those
tradition,
things
it's
that
legend.
everyone just talks about to like sound cool and like, oh yeah, I've done this, but no one actually ever does it?
So has anybody at this table ever eaten one?
No.
I know of it as called Wildcat, not cannibal sandwiches, but I've never.
Have you
Wildcat's
ever been to
cooler.
a party where it's been served?
No.
I have been to a party where it's been served.
And it's just out at room temperature and everything too.
Yeah, that's
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
yes, it is. You know, and I think what is the proper cooking temperature for a hamburger? Is it like
It's usually like
140 or
160
150
or
degrees?
something usually
60?
is.
Yeah. So you're just a hair off at room temperature.
Slightly.
Yeah. So you're missing by 100.
Yeah.
Well, I guess talking about weird Wisconsin traditions, there's another odd Wisconsin tradition, and this one I have been indirectly involved in, although this is another one that we never did at our house. It's called Hide the Pickle. Try not to laugh. But it's regarding hiding a pickle ornament on your Christmas
For
tree.
Christmas. Okay.
Son of a gun, my family does this too. I thought it was just my family being weird. I didn't know this was a thing.
It's a
Yeah, it's a
Wisconsin thing.
Yep.
It's a Wisconsin thing.
Huh.
And we never did it at our house, but
did we.
But I married into a family that hides the pickle. Creeps.
We have a pickle, but we don't use it.
I've heard that about you. So what do you mean? You don't put it on the tree?
No, it's just one of the ornaments we have in a box that.
But you
Yeah.
don't put it on.
No, not really.
See, ours is a thing that like gets passed around. Like it's kind of we used to give each other gifts, and it would be like hidden amongst the gifts. So somebody would end up with it at the end of the night.
Oh, you'd open the pickle.
Yeah, it would be part of a gift. You know, kind of.
So the tradition that I was taught
Yeah.
by in-laws was that the pickle ornament is hidden on the tree.
Okay.
And the child, ideally, who finds it gets an extra gift.
Oh.
So it's from Germany. It says that the Christmas pickle, it's believed that the Christmas pickle was imported to the U.S. from Germany along with other vegetable-shaped ornaments in like the 1800s. There's also much lore around the pickle ornament, including a story that says Saint Nick miraculously brought 2 boys back to life after he found them deceased in a pickle barrel.
Wow. It's got a morbid story behind
It
it.
sure does.
They were dead in a pickle barrel.
That is
Did
one
they
of the
fall in
lore.
the pickle
yeah.
barrel, or did like somebody stuff them in there?
That-
Were they shot with an arrow and then stuffed in a pickle barrel?
I would assume that.
Did they have any entry and exit wounds? Well, I think that's kind of an interesting. So we talked about the cannibal sandwiches and a pickle on the Christmas tree.
I just didn't know that was a thing.
I have one more pickle question for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you refer to places as a pickle farm or a cucumber farm? Because I hear a lot of people in Wisconsin call them pickle farms too, like, oh, he's a pickle farmer.
No.
And you don't grow pickles.
Yeah,
right?
you do.
So
Well, you
Yeah,
grow
you do.
pickling cucumbers, right? Or what's the
well-
story behind that?
Rachel's family calls them pickle farms.
Okay.
And they have land down in the Plover-ish area.
And it's just a smaller
Yeah.
cucumber, right?
There's the pickling cucumbers. They're,
Okay.
Yeah.
But
This
I
is-
actually thought, like, I get that you're saying like it's the same vegetable, but isn't a pickle actually a pickle? I do believe that a pickle is like, it's not like they're picking out a
It's
cucumber
like a
before it
species
achieves
of
its-
cucumber. No, they're pickling cucumber. They're a different variety. Yeah.
I guess I'd like to know.
Yeah.
That's why I thought we all had computers sitting in front of us.
Yes, I asked the question. I could have just looked it up.
I like
but
how early on in the episodes we asked questions and then we found the answers to them, and now we just ask them and just say, "Oh, it, let's just forget about it and we'll move on." So
let's ponder it for a little bit.
yeah, we'll just think about it and we won't fill our audience in on what it is.
I mean,
Well, I mean, there's hundreds of different
So is there
varieties
a
of
pickle
cucumbers
seed?
out there.
Is there a pickle seed? You know, and then is there a cucumber seed?
well, I would think that pickle only refers to the process.
That's
Yeah, it
that's what
does
I
make
thought.
sense.
You know,
It's
I-
like
yeah,
there's
pickles-
pickled
pickles mean
sheets and
something.
pickled. Yeah, there's.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and I could totally be wrong here, but I always kind of cracked me up when they said they're pickle farmers. It's like, well, aren't you a cucumber farmer?
Yeah, so I think technically you're eating a.
I'm a baby cucumber farmer.
Yeah.
I picked
And
my
I get
cucumbers
it. I would
before
say
they
the same
achieved full
thing too.
growth.
Like I grow 4 pickles. I'm a pickle farmer. I get it.
Yeah. But it's not like I'm a stewed tomato farmer, or I'm a baby carrot farmer,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you see where I'm going with this.
I do understand.
Thank you.
I
Thank
do
you. Appreciate
understand.
it.
Yeah,
I just
a pickled cucumber, more commonly known as a pickle in the United States. So that even if you went to, let's say, the UK, you might order yourself a pickled cucumber as opposed to pickles. How we talk.
we just
we're
made it
lazy.
easier.
Yeah.
Or
One
a
word.
pickled gherkin.
Yeah, but somehow cucumbers got the cornered the market on pickle. You know,
Yeah.
You know, because there's other things we pickle.
Pickled eggs.
According to
somehow-
Wikipedia, which is a trusted source, they say that there are 3 main varieties of cucumbers: slicing, pickling, and seedless.
Okay.
So it's just a different variety.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got to talk about these 2 Wisconsin traditions. I wonder what other Wisconsin traditions are out there that we never realized are just ours, and that we didn't realize other people do.
That sounds
Fish
like maybe
fries?
something for the next.
We'll look into that. Fish fries, definitely. You know, old fashions, fish fries,
Yeah,
things
brandy.
like
supper
that.
clubs.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Supper, yeah,
Supper
definitely.
clubs, drinking brandy,
Mm-hmm.
eating cheese. Yeah, those are the obvious ones. Hiding a pickle is not as obvious.
Yeah, I
nor are
really
cannibal
just thought that
sandwiches.
was my family. No, I didn't know that was everybody's family.
No, your family is cockfighting.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Right. Well, I guess we can wrap it up again. This is episode 6 is in the books.
Yeah, we've done well.
I enjoy. Eric's got one other thing.
No, I don't have anything.
It's hard to believe we've come
Well,
this
then why
far.
were you raising your hand?
He's not sure.
Just say it.
I can't say it. Never
All
mind.
right. Well, anyway, it was fun having everybody together. We've got one more episode coming in before Christmas, and we've got a special guest coming up in the new year.
Ooh,
I
boy.
want to remind everybody to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. We want to keep this thing going, and we appreciate the feedback. And the more listeners we have, the more we know it's worth doing. Otherwise, we feel like we're just down here talking to ourselves.
We're gonna try to put it up on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Also
today
now on
'cause
YouTube.
we-
Yeah, we're going to add it to YouTube hopefully this week. We do have a video version. And that's it. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
What did you want to say?
I need to know.
He's going.
Well, you were like jumping. I thought you were jumping the gun, and you weren't gonna say review us.
Oh.
So I was like trying to flag you.
And why
to
couldn't
not,
you say that? Why?
Because I was like, my head was just like shutting down.